Somebody suck me!
Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports show that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, presented by Bolen Media. I am Ross Bolen, and they did it. They really did it. The Astros did it last night. The Houston Astros won the American League West Division and became the first team in the expansion era to start a 162-game season, 7-19, and still make the playoffs. Absolutely fucking insane. The amount of people who lost faith in this team, who outright said this team was dead in the water, the dynasty was over, the era was ending. The amount of people this team proved wrong. Truly something to behold. This is probably the sweetest division championship during the dynasty run since 2017, honestly, because there were so many points in the season where the math was totally against us. The odds were not good. Like, the Astros were 10 games out of first place on June 18th. More than halfway through the month of June, we were 10 games back of the first place Seattle Mariners. And they looked absolutely terrible for like the first 2 months of the season. And then we started losing pitchers to injury left and right. Christian Javier, Luis Garcia, Lance McCullers Jr. had a setback. JP France, they all suffered season-ending injuries or setbacks. Justin Verlander missed 2.5 months in the summer with the neck injury that he obviously came back too soon from. Kyle Tucker was out for 3 fucking months with a fractured shin or, lower leg discomfort. Everything went wrong at some point this season, and still your Houston Astros run the West. That is 7 straight division titles in full seasons. Obviously, 2020 was a shortened season that nobody really counts. If you see anywhere, the Astros have won 4 AL West division titles in a row, that is fucking horse hooey. That is inaccurate. We have won 7 in a row. 2020 does not count. Nobody cares. That's 7. Count them properly. 4? No. 7. Almost double 4. So the Astros are in the playoffs for the 8th consecutive season. Only the Los Angeles Dodgers can claim the same feat. And we will host the best of 3 AL wildcard series next week in Houston against the number 6 seed in the American League. So it'll be either the Royals, the Tigers, the Twins, or the Mariners. We don't know. One of those 4. The next several days will tell us who that opponent is going to be. But my God, where to begin in terms of who deserves credit for what has occurred here? Joe Espada is probably at the top of the list. This is a first-year manager, a guy that got promoted with the departure of Dusty Baker, that people questioned whether or not he was going to have the chops to pull this off. And then the heat really got put on Joe Espada over those first 2 months of the season where things were going horribly, horribly wrong. And admittedly, even myself, I was like, I don't know if this guy's got what it takes. I don't know. Because the interviews he was doing the first couple of months when we were dog shit, it was like he didn't have an explanation. He didn't have a way to say that things were going to be turned around. Like he didn't look confident to me. And it really wasn't fair, all the judgment that he received. And admittedly, even for me, the judgment that I passed on him was not fair. It was not fair. When you start a new job, you don't just start the job firing on all cylinders. It takes time to settle in, to figure out your management style, how things are going to be. It's a totally different ballgame being the manager versus the, hitting coach or whatever the fuck he was prior. I can't even remember right now because I'm too excited. But it's a totally different thing. He held this team together all season long. Joe Espada deserves as much credit as anybody for the fact that the Astros were still able to win the division. And man, watching him post-game last night, with Julia Morales getting choked up and seeing how much it meant to him. I mean, it was special. You could tell. You know, it's funny when you watch Espada or Dana Brown, even Jim Crane getting interviewed. You always kind of have to read between the lines because you know they can't say exactly what they want to say. They can't say their unfiltered thoughts, really. So you kind of have to read between the lines, and you could tell he wanted to be like, fuck you if you doubted us. And it was just so cool to see him. Year one, your first, I mean, obviously it's a great team that he got handed here, or that he earned the managerial role of, but man, year one, to come out and win the division and to keep the dynasty rolling, especially when early it looked like the fucking wheels were coming off the train and it was all over, like, dude, what a job. What a job from Joe Espada. Clearly he believed in his team, he believed in his players, and they believed in him right back, and it paid off, man. And it's really special when that happens in sports and in life, in any type of team effort situation. It's a magical thing. I was so happy for him watching him post game, and you could see how bad he wanted it and how bad he wants a shot at a World Series. And now he's gonna get it. Dana Brown, another guy that at different points in the season I was like, I couldn't even tell, like, is he allowed to do his job? Is Jim Crane going to let him do his job? Then it became pretty evident when we finally got rid of Jose Abreu and Rafael Montero that the handcuffs were taken off of Dana Brown and he was allowed to go and do his thing. And holy shit, did that pay off as well. So you kind of have to credit Jim Crane for allowing Dana Brown to go and do his thing, although that is, you know, what you're supposed to do as an owner. You hire good people, you put them in a position to have success, and then you let them go work and do the job. And Dana Brown did the fucking job. I mean, this was an incredibly challenging season for a general manager, and he held it together. He plugged the holes, as Jim Crane said last night. He brought in guys that he saw something in that nobody else recognized. Primarily, Yusei Kikuchi. Holy shit. What are we, 8-0 when he starts? He's pitching right now as I speak in this, what we'll call a hangover game that started at like 1:10 p.m. here. That's obviously meaningless for the Astros and the Mariners. It's very important for. So I'm hoping Kikuchi can still get a win and be undefeated in the regular season. But Kikuchi, that could not have gone better. And there was so much doubt around that move and so much anger and so many questions when Joey Loperfido got shipped off as part of that trade package. And that was a lot that they gave up to get Kikuchi. And Kikuchi made it so worth it by getting a W in every single game he started up until today, and we'll see what happens today. But he's the guy, really, you have to give Kikuchi a ton of credit for the fact that we were able to be in this position. Crazy performance from him. And you have to credit the pitching coaches in the same breath. Joshua Miller and Bill Murphy, both. I mean, that's what our pitching coaching staff has been able to do during this dynasty run is a huge part of the reason that the run exists. Like, they're bringing guys in, they're switching up their pitching choices and adding in pitches and turning them into brand new guys that fucking are unhittable. It's amazing. It's an amazing job that the pitching coaching staff has done, that Kikuchi did this season. Just crazy. Jason Hayward, Jay-Hay. We keep having to thank the Los Angeles Dodgers during this last, 7-8 years and change now for Yordan Alvarez. Thank you, Dodgers. And now for Jay-Hay. Coming up huge with an insane play in left field where he put his fucking arm through the scoreboard. In the next inning, he hits a home run to take the lead. Crazy shit. And that's the kind of thing, like, when you want to win a World Series, as we have seen, you better have some weird magic happen. You better have dudes step up and play at a level that you didn't think they were capable of playing at, or you didn't think they were capable of playing at anymore. Dodgers just let this dude walk. We pick him up. Especially now with the Yordan Alvarez injury, that's an important piece right there. Credit to Dana Brown for making that happen. Hunter Brown, speaking of Browns, Hunter Brown, dude. I mean, look, last couple seasons we've talked repeatedly about, is Hunter Brown going to take the next step? Is he going to become the guy everybody thought he could become? You know, Justin Verlander comes back. That's supposed to be like the dude he modeled his game after. He's got his mentor in the fucking dugout. Why can't he get it together? First couple of months of the season, Hunter Brown still looks like shit. We're scratching our heads like, what the fuck? Is he ever going to do it? Is he ever going to be good? And then what the hell happened? He turned the page somehow. The dude is an ace. You got people online arguing about whether or not he should be our game one starter in front of Framber Valdez, which I don't think that's going to happen. But the fact that it's even an argument and that you have to pay attention to the conversation is fucking crazy, considering where he was at the beginning of the year. Truly crazy turnaround for Hunter Brown. Deserves all the credit in the world. It just another guy that had doubt heaped on top of him for months. And he found a way to shrug it off, polish his game, change up his pitching choices, and voila. Stacking wins. Hunter Brown, unbelievable. I talked about Kikuchi already. I won't talk about him too much more, but just so impressive, man. Like, especially to switch teams, switch uniforms, switch cities in the middle of the fucking season like that and get as locked in as he was and contribute the way that he has. Can't say enough about Yusei Kikuchi. Ronel Blanco, another dude that, like, with all those injuries and all of the disappointment that occurred in the pitching rotation, to have Ronel Blanco finally step up and become who, again, people thought he could be this guy. You saw people who really know baseball talking about Ronel Blanco last season like he could become a dude. And he did. Now he's one of those dudes in what is one of the nastiest pitching rotations in baseball. And not to get too ahead of myself, but when you talk about everything that the Astros lost in terms of pitching this year, and you look at names like Christian Javier and Luis Garcia in particular, and even JP France, what the hell are we going to do next season? I mean, again, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, we're just celebrating the AL West division title today, and that's pretty much it. But I do want to say, holy God, the plethora of starting pitching that the Houston Astros have moving forward when everybody's healthy, which you have to imagine happens at some point in the offseason, that's going to be crazy. That's going to be truly, truly crazy next season. They got like 6 guys that you can count on any given night to give you 6 innings, solid innings. That's going to be a monster pitching rotation moving forward. Ronel Blanco, great season, man. I'm just so impressed. And I got to see him in person when I got to go to a game. Fortunately, was given tickets in the Diamond Club and watch him up close and watch him work. And my God, I don't want to hit against him. I know that. You got to give a lot of credit to the veteran leadership on this ball club, obviously. Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, even Verlander, frankly. Injuries aside, having a guy like that in the clubhouse, in the dugout, to give your team stability from a mental standpoint when you're going through all of the different challenges and controversies that this team has gone through, especially this season, like that is huge. Kyle Tucker, obviously in there as well at this point. Yordan Alvarez, obviously in there as well at this point. There was a last inning last night when we're trying to close out the game. Josh Hader's on the mound. They showed a camera shot of Joe Espada sitting on the bench in the dugout. Now, obviously, he's usually up on the fence, one knee up on the stairs watching the game. But he couldn't do it. He's sitting back there like you could tell the nerves were getting to him. And Yordan Alvarez sat down right next to him and apparently was telling him, just breathe. We've got this. And that's the kind of veteran leadership I'm talking about. It even applies to helping your manager hold it together. Your first-year manager hold it together during what is the biggest half inning of his entire fucking career. So, I mean, that's the reason the Astros have had such sustained success in this era. Are the names I just said. Jose Altuve being at the very top of the list, obviously. Justin Verlander being right there with him. And then Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez and Alex Bregman. Man, Alex Bregman. Every year he starts a little slow and everybody's like, I don't know, does Breggy still have it in him? And then by the end of September, by the time October's rolling around, he's locked the fuck in. He's hitting dingers. He's an unbelievable third baseman still. My God, I hope we find a way to keep him. We're not focusing on that today, though. We're focusing on the now and the positives. And there are just so many of them. And we have, again, it's crazy because every year, I think I've been doing this show for like 3 years now. And every year I do the same episodes. It's like a circle of life. Around this time of year, I'm doing an episode about how insane it is that we won the division again, at least this last couple of years, obviously. And like last year was crazy. We won it on the last day of the season when the Rangers shit the bed. And obviously things didn't pan out for us the way we wanted them to when we got to the ALCS. But even so, like you look at the AL West, and I don't know how many times I've said over the last few years, like these are not serious people. And talking about the Mariners and the Rangers, and even the Rangers, like one fluky World Series where you had to get through us and it took 7 games and we're all fucking tired because we've been doing this year after year after year after year since 2017. Like, good for you. Great, whatever. But like, nobody cares. This team is on a dominant run like perhaps we will never see again in my lifetime anyway. That's in Houston sports, in my lifetime. This is probably not going to be matched. So we are once again at the time of the year where as fans, it is our job to soak this in and enjoy it as much as possible because it's rare air that this team is flying in. And as fans, it's like we're so spoiled. How many times have I said that? We're so spoiled as a fan base because this is just like routine for us at this point. And yet something about the ride, especially this past couple seasons, where it's just seemed like at so many different moments we were doomed. And you have this fear, right? After a 7-year dynasty run, coming up on a full decade of dominance, you have this fear like, oh, when's it going to end? When's it going to be over? And they just keep finding a way. Cycling. How many guys have we had to say bye to? You know, you think about dudes like George Springer, Carlos Correa. There's been pitching that we've lost that we didn't want to lose. It's like you watch guys leave and you're like, shit, that might have been it. And then somehow it's not. They keep finding a way to bring in fresh blood, fresh meat, new blood, whatever you want to call it, and keep the train rolling. And this year, much more than last year, 2022, different type of deal. But this year, much more than last year, feels like we've gotten hot at the right time. And that is perhaps the most important thing in baseball. It's how you explain the Rangers winning it all last year or the Diamondbacks even getting to the World Series last year. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you get cold at the wrong time, you're done, son. Any team, no matter how stacked, can lose a 7-game series if they go cold at the wrong time. So getting hot at the right moment, deep into September, right before the postseason starts, is paramount to having a real shot at winning a World Series. And this year, they're hot. Like this, the bats are there. The pitching is there. The defense is there. I don't think Peña's made an error in like a week and a half. So it's like the pieces are there. And you can see the fire in Joe Espada's eyes. Like he fucking wants this. He wants to prove himself worthy of being a part of this story. And you can see it in guys like Kikuchi, who got written off and traded, or Hayward, who got cut or let go or whatever. And like or Bregman, who this might be his last chance as a Houston Astro. You know, you can see it, and that's what you fucking need. That's what you want to see as a fan, man. Like, you want to know your guys care. And then there's Kyle Tucker, who's very ho-hum about everything no matter what. He's just happy to be there. He just wants to contribute. But yeah, that's wow. Man. I mean, there was a few months there, and really several different points throughout the course of the season where all of us were looking at each other like, shit. Was that it? Is it over? What do we do now? Watch the Texans more? But no, this is still the team in Houston until somebody can prove otherwise, which they have not been able to do. This is the dynasty. This is the team we should be paying the most attention to. This is the team we should be backing the most because this moment, this era, this dynasty that they have built is something special that we may never see again. And don't get me wrong, I hope it never fucking ends. I hope that 5 years from now, I'm still sitting here doing the same episodes, going through the same rundowns, just with different names. You know, I hope they're able to continue. But for now, we focus on now. And this October that approaches rapidly. We've got one nice thing about obviously the Cleveland Guardians won yesterday, so they locked up the 2 seed. They will have a bye. We will not have a bye. Frankly, I don't think we need a bye because we have this full week to get dudes like Yordan Alvarez and even Chas McCormick rested up and hopefully healthier. Kyle Tucker seems like he's all the way back. That's enormous. The pitching rotation, minus Verlander, is all healthy. Verlander probably not going to be a part of the playoff run, and that's okay. That's okay. Because we frankly do not need him at this point. I know that's a crazy thing to say and think, and at least it feels crazy for me. But we don't need him. We don't need JV. He did what we needed him to do for years and years and years. And he came back too early from that injury, and he's just not himself right now. And maybe he will be next season. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But again, we're not focusing on that right now. So Yordan and Chaz are not even traveling to Cleveland. They're going to stay in Houston, work with the training staff, the doctors, and make sure that they're getting as healthy as possible for the playoffs. I feel pretty good about that. The fact that Joe Espada said once he saw Yordan's MRI, he felt better than he did on Sunday, that's huge. I think that shows us something. Usually this team, they give you no information about injuries, right? They never give a shit. We never know what the hell is going on. Kyle Tucker, probably the best example in history. It was like, when he went out like June 3rd, I was like, I'll be out like a week. You know, a week passed, 2 weeks passed, 3 weeks passed. You're like, what the hell's happening? Next thing you know, it's been like 3 months. He's still not in the... So the fact that Joe Espada commented on Yordan Alvarez's situation and his MRI, that seemed like a good sign to me. Because, don't get me wrong, all things considered, everything I just said having been said, you do need Yordan Alvarez. You do need that 1-2 combination of lefties, Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez, batting back-to-back to be the most dangerous version of yourself, of this team. And they got to have him, man. They got to have Yordan out there. They got to have him at least able to hit, man. We don't necessarily need him in the outfield. The DH situation gets a little tricky because then it's like, but the point is, you at least need his bat. Yordan Alvarez has a full week now to focus on getting that knee feeling right or as right as it possibly can feel so that he can crush the ball when it matters most in October. I'm done. I'm going to start rambling if I keep going. But my God, what an impressive season to still win the division, to clinch another postseason berth. What are we, eight in a row or whatever now? It's fucking crazy. It's crazy. And with all the receipts being pulled and all the shit that's been talked and all the pain and suffering that we endured this season and the doubt and the hate, they're still there when it matters most. And it's been truly a joy as a fan to watch this run that they've been on. And got to feel good right now. Looking at that list of teams we could be playing and, knowing that we're going to get home field, obviously, in the first round. And that we've got a real shot. Got a real shot again. For the 8th fucking year in a row. It's crazy. It's crazy. So enjoy it. Enjoy it. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave a comment. Ask me a question or share a take or argue with one of my takes that I just had if you must. Don't tell me to get a teleprompter. I've got a computer. I've got a computer with bullet points on it. That's all I need. People keep telling me, you need a teleprompter. I don't want a teleprompter. Maybe I need a teleprompter. Maybe next season. But this season, we're rolling old school, baby. Roll with me. Our show is also available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and the podcast platforms. If you're listening on one of those, rate and review, please. That means a lot. It helps a lot. On that note, please share the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence with your friends and family. Follow us on social media at Banging the Can on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. Follow me on those three at WR Bolen. I guess not on TikTok. I don't do the TikTok from a personal standpoint, but I do tweet a lot. And I do some Instagramming, mostly stories, at WR Bolen. Check out Bolen Media's other shows. If you love F1, check out Formula Bone at youtube.com/@FormulaBone with a B, B-O-N-E, Formula Bone. If you love F1, you will love Formula Bone, hosted by Jared J-Bone Borislow, bringing you the latest and greatest in the world of F1 every week with a preview and a recap of each race all season long. He does a phenomenal job with his F1 content. The finest American-made F1 content in the world. Follow at Formula Bone on social media. You can also listen to Formula Bone on the podcast platforms. Check out the Ross Bolen podcast for more from me, Ross Bolen. If you're a TV and film fan, I do another show called Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, where right now we are covering The Penguin. Is available wherever you're getting your can banging in. And that's it. That's all I got to say today. Feels good, though. We're back, baby. And we never left. That's the fucked up part. We've just been here the whole time. We didn't even know it. I'm Ross Bolen. I'll be back next week, Monday, to talk Texans and Jaguars. That's who we're playing. I remembered. Until next time, H-Town, stay down.